All right, I'm dodging the sunlight through the tree branches right here. We got this wonderful little crabapple tree right on our patio here that provides a decent amount of shade, but it'll still peek through the video. And so, forgive me for recording something that's not premium quality. I wanted to make a video today because um, there was a conversation that I had this weekend, and it brought something to my attention that I've thought of before, but I really need to make this video and make it obvious. Um, uh, uh, make what I do obvious. Okay, there is so the question was posed this way. Hey, do you still sell houses? Are you still like a real estate agent? Because the general idea I think that people have is that I flip houses and that's what I do. Well, yes, we do that. My company, we flip houses. We wholesale. We do some creative things in the real estate business. Mainly because when the market gets hairy and very, very competitive, you've got to find ways to stand out from the crowd. And furthermore, when I got in the business, I was always hearing about the $1 million houses. Like everybody wanted to sell $1 million house and get that $1 million commission. And I just slowed it down enough to figure out how I can get the $1 million commission from the $150,000 to $200,000 house, right? I mean, it's what you do in house flipping, right? Sometimes it takes a very similar amount of time, because our target time frame is 5 to 6 months to flip a house and get it sold. That's like the all-in number, and you walk away with $1 million commission typically, or $1 million worth of commission. Now, some would argue like, hey, there's a lot less work in selling houses. Yeah, probably, but I have fun. We create jobs. It's what I enjoy doing, right? Um, but keep this in mind when you're thinking about hiring your next agent. Okay, um, I make it one of my missions in life to stay on top of the real estate business. Okay, and understand where the trends are going, and watching the foreclosure numbers in an effort to keep my company more competitive moving forward, and also my clients. Because if you think about this for a moment, if I'm going to put my money on the line and potentially hang it out to dry with a particular, like, let's say I'm going to put $200,000 out there. Okay, I'm going to sign on the dotted line. I'm going to borrow that money, or I'm going to take it out of my own account and put it into a house. I have got to be darn sure that that house is going to sell for what I expect it to sell for. When we're done with it 6 months from now. So we need to see in the future. We need to see into the future as investors and house flippers. Okay, it's so very important. So I would argue that uh, being a house flipper and an investor would be like an upgrade to the traditional real estate agent. Not that there's not anything wrong with real estate agents, but think of it like this, okay? I have got to make sure that 6 months down the road, I can cash in and sell the house for what I expect it to sell for. And it's not speculation, I'm talking about prediction, in a sense where you got to stay on top of things. And if you're wrong, it's going to cost you a lot more money than a real estate commission. Think about that. Okay. I got to watch my numbers. I got to study them. I got to make sure that I'm on top of all the trends. Like one particular trend right now that's going through the market that you've got to stay in tune with is the fact that there are foreclosures that are happening. Okay, right now. In fact, we just signed a deal over in Taylor for a couple that had a forbearance. Like COVID came and they did not make payments for like 12 months or something like that. Now the government came along, they gave them a loan to catch them up, and then they put a lien on their house. Okay, that's what happened there. Now, they weren't behind on their mortgage, they just went into forbearance, but they still owe that money. So for not it's forbearance, not forgiveness. Don't confuse the two. Okay, we're starting to see these deals come into the market now. That's extra inventory. What we've realistically lived for the past, multiple years. I mean, I've been in this business for 10 years now, and I have not known a slow market. I've seen houses in Canton sell in a month. I've seen them sell in a weekend. Same with Farmington Hills, and I mean, your multiple offer situations are they're still out there. Um, but when you overprice a house, which I recently experienced over here in White Lake, when you overprice a house, that house will sit on the market longer than what you're expecting, and you then once the market ultimately speaks, you're going to have to chase the market to find the right price, provided that if it doesn't sell in the first weekend, which usually the market's going to know if it's overpriced, and plus people are scared because they're here, the market's crashing. Well, the market's not crashing, it is adjusting. Okay, it's shifting, as some people are saying it. But you've got to understand what the game plan is moving forward, and as investors, it's our job to make sure that we are in tune much more than the standard real estate agent to the market. Okay, we're staying on top of things now, and that's just it. So when you think of me, Dean Gazowski and my company 3D Property Solutions, think of, I'm too humble to call myself an expert. I'm pretty good at what I do. I mean, to the point where I always want to make sure I'm not second guessing myself in a negative standpoint, but I'm always double checking my numbers to make sure that I'm looking at the days on market, how long a house is expected to take to sell on an open, in your neighborhood. I'm talking about hyper local stuff. Okay, your particular neighborhood. How desirable is it? Do people want to be there? Do people take it as a second choice? Okay, this will do. Okay, I mean, there's a game plan for either, right? We understand that. I understand that. My team, we are in tune with how to treat particular houses. So if you're thinking about selling, here's a couple things I'm going to leave you with. You got to understand that the market will continue to slow. I don't know that it's going to depreciate. That's a story for another day, and maybe a conversation we can have over the phone or in person. The market is slowing because of interest rates. People are like, I don't know what to do. It's so expensive. Yeah, well, with the government putting out a 40-year mortgage option, you tell me if that's going to make houses more or less expensive. Okay? So, foreclosures are coming. Now, just because they're happening right now doesn't mean that the market's going to extremely shift. One thing you got to watch for is that redemption period, because when we foreclose in the state of Michigan, somebody gets foreclosed on, sheriff shows up at their house, they're like, you're out. Now, they're not necessarily out that day. They have 6 months to redeem from the sheriff's sale. Okay, which means that the seller has to bring cash and go satisfy that debt that the house was sold for. But now, as we really look at it, we've got that 6-month period. Winter is going to be a completely different story, I believe. Now, going back to the foreclosure the house that was in forbearance out in Taylor, people are realizing that they cannot afford these houses. You got over your head in the first place. Financial stability is, oh man, we gotta teach on that stuff, right? Anyhow, they can't afford the house. That's why they're going to go ahead and sell that. And for all these folks that were in forbearance, that is, it's actually a thought I'm just having. I need to look into a certain type of a deed to stay competitive here. Anyhow, there is more inventory coming to the market, which is good news for buyers. So if you know that somebody has been beat up, with their multiple offer situations, for the past year, 2 years, 3 years even, and haven't been able to buy a house. Now is probably a good time to jump into the market, and don't be scared about the interest rates. I mean, money, like I heard it put, one of the, actually the rookie of the year in our office, uh, who did quite a bit more business than what I did. I'm not ashamed to admit it. He's like, you can, marry the house, but date the rate. That means your house is a lot more permanent than the interest rate. Interest rates change. Okay, um, the Federal Reserve, they're raising interest rates. They have raised interest rates, and that is slowing activity to a point. Uh, but eventually, the Fed will make another adjustment to speed things back up, to stimulate the economy. Something to think about. So now is a good time for buyers to get in to the mix. There is extra inventory coming to the market, and that's something you got to be aware of. So if you have questions specifically about the market, you can come to me. Um, Even if you don't decide to hire me as your agent, I want to be a resource for you. That's like one of my ultimate goals in life, is to be a supporting role in the real estate end of your transactions, or like whatever that means. If you need input on things, reach out to me, please. I'm always here as a resource for you. Uh, you know, in the history, our history doesn't necessarily really matter in that regard, but I love talking about this stuff. It's kind of consumed my life, to a point. Not in an unhealthy way, but I mean, this is my career. This is what I truly enjoy. So, just wanted to leave that with you today. It's a 12-minute video. It's longer than what I normally do, but you want to have a conversation? Let's do it. Come find me.